Hi, this is Ashley,
And this is Kristen.
and this is 1,000 Miles of True Crime. Hey everyone, we are so excited today. This is a pretty special episode for us. Not only is it episode number 30, somehow we got to, gabbing about Thanksgiving on our last episode and didn't even talk about the fact that we had just hit our 1 year anniversary with the podcast. Very exciting time for us. How you feeling?
Celebrate. I totally think it's a huge accomplishment, major milestone. Although we didn't get to celebrate together, I definitely celebrated. I hope that you did as well. And that just went by super fast. But ex
Fast.
excited about what's to come.
Yes, we are excited about what's to come, but we do want to give you guys just a heads up that, this whole time we've only taken one little tiny, little bitty break, just like a lot of other podcasts. We just need a break, guys. We're going to go ahead and take some time off for the holidays. We're actually going to take a little more of an extended period off. It's going to sound longer than it really is. We'll be back before you know it. So please come back with us. But we're going to take a break till February 14th. That's going to give us just a little time to sort of regroup, see our friends and family, and then also give us a month to really catch back up, work on the podcast. We definitely need some help with some things. So we're going to try to figure out audio and we're going to be doing stuff, guys. We promise. The plan is to come back February 14th and have a special sort of really personal episode for us, personal case. Don't worry. It's not going to be all about lovey-dovey Valentine's Day, even though after it, you might wish it was. We just wanted to give you guys a heads up and, we really appreciate you guys sticking with us this long.
And come
Sure.
back. Come back and don't forget about us.
Yeah, please don't forget about us. And so we decided to sort of, I am not going to call this a high note. I have to think of something better to say right now, but we're going to end on a Santa note. Is that, I guess that works because, it is December. So whether or not you celebrate Christmas or not, it's only a couple of weeks away. And we figured murdering Santa is a good way to go out for 2022. No. I'll get started, but Kristen, I don't even think you know what I'm covering. Are you familiar with the flamethrower Santa? Do you know Bruce Pardo at all? Do you remember this? It happened in 2008. No. Okay, perfect.
I do not, but I am interested in learning more about you said Pardo.
Pardo, you're not interested in learning more about this monster,
Psycho.
but yes, but I am excited to tell you about it. I'm sure at some point you and most of our listeners it's going to kind of freshen up in your memory, but this is all about the Covina Christmas Eve massacre. As always, you guys know, where do I start? At the beginning with Bruce Pardo being born. He was born on March 23rd, 1963 in Los Angeles. He would be raised and grow up in the San Fernando Valley area. And his dad was an engineer. He also really good student and really excelled in math. It really just kind of made sense that after he graduated from John F. Francis Polytech High School in Sun Valley, that he went to Cal State Norridge to study computer science. And even there, he was described as really being exceptional. He was really bright, got good grades. And he was often described as just wanting to be the center of attention, kind of the jokester, doing whatever he can to kind of get some attention. So one thing he did was that they point out in the Los Angeles Times that when he was graduating, he decided to carry the life-size blow-up doll with him. Just to be that guy, just to be funny. So just to stand out. So he's, really that he seems he should be the party, like fun guy, but sometimes that goes wrong. But after graduating, he did get a job very quickly. He was able to land a good job as well. He would become a software engineer at Jet Propulsion's laboratory in La Canada, Flint Ridge. I feel
That's a
like that's
tongue
like,
twister.
yeah, it went from La Canada to like very rough. Probably just butchered it. So sorry, guys. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty nice area. It's in the Los Angeles area. And he got this job. He was young. He was not employee of the year. That's not how I would describe him. As good as he was at school and book smart, he was that guy who's always trying to beat the system. The type who just like can't follow the rules. Is just always kind of trying to bend them to get away with something. And he would again, even there, people described him as being very intelligent, but he just sort of like lacked common sense. Do you know that type? Really book smart, but you're just like, hey, Bruce, that's not the way the real world works, but okay, And I kind of seem to always be living in that land. And what he actually did, which like, I don't know how he didn't get caught for this, but he hacked into their system and we'll actually see money's a big deal to him. He never has enough. He's always looking for more. And again, he's in his early 20s at this point, and he hacks into the system to see how much everybody else is getting paid. And he's like pretty well off. You're a software engineer. I don't know how he didn't get busted for this, but yeah, he did that because he knew exactly how much everybody at the company was making.
And it sounds like that was the only intent, that he just wanted to know. He just had to know what everybody else was making.
Just wanted to know what everyone else was making. Which makes me kind of think, if I was going to hack into my work systems, what would I really do? I feel like if anything, if he just tried to raise my salary, let's come back and put this out. Like, I don't think I'd be like, I don't care what Barbara 2 cubicles down is making. Give me my money. I don't know. But I don't know. Who knows if I had that much power when I was like 22 though. So but at JPL, he did give him the opportunity to actually fall in love. So he meets Delia, and this is in 1988 when Pardo was only 24. They're in love, everything's going great, and he proposes, and she says yes. So they get engaged, and he wants to go all out. They want this big dream wedding, but even though he's a software engineer, he's broke. He's like, I don't have any money. He's living at home with his mom. He's got this good job. I don't know if he took out loans. I think we've seen the college wasn't even that much then. So I don't know what the story is, but he cried broke. And she was like, okay, we're in love. I have my savings. I will just blow my entire savings on you in this wedding. So that's what they do. They're planning their dream wedding. They invite 250 people to this wedding. You rented out this country club. Everything's supposed to be perfect. And she's even paid and booked the honeymoon, which is going to happen immediately after the wedding. And they're supposed to go to Tahiti.
It sounds like she's just really wanting to have a wedding, maybe not just get married, but have a wedding. And I mean, to come out of pocket, all that, go blow through all of your savings for a day, that's insane.
It's to each their own. Like I didn't do it, but I know people who have done it and didn't regret it at all. I know other people who've like totally regretted it and would never ever do that again. I think she's gonna be in that category though, of people who regretted it. So
tell me more.
Let me tell you more. She's sitting there, had her dream wedding. And when I say sitting there, I mean because she's waiting and waiting and waiting, because where's Bruce? His whole family is there. Everybody's there. Everyone's waiting. And she's just made a fool. She's just standing there. Bruce did not show up. Yeah. Yeah. And they all waited until it was very clear he's not showing up.
So then what happened? Oh my gosh. That's mortifying. That's just a terrible thing to do to someone, especially after they've spent all their money on this day. And then he just ghosted her.
Didn't even have the common courtesy to call his brother and be like, I'm freaking out right now and I'm not going to be attending that event today. Maybe grab mom and you guys should book. Doesn't tell anybody, just doesn't show up. Finally talks to her, and from her account, which she doesn't even want her last name out there. She does not want people to know she's associated with him, but by her account, he didn't even sound guilty. He didn't sound remorseful. And as if this all wasn't horrible enough, and he didn't just do one of the worst things you could do to a girl, especially at that age when she's in love. She then realizes that he's actually withdrawn the last $3,000 from their savings. And the last couple of weeks, he had just been spending in Palm Springs, blowing all the money and having a good time. Because I don't know, it was like so traumatizing for him to have to walk out on their wedding and not show up and leave her there at the altar. So, yeah, I'm not kidding you when I say after throwing that big wedding and losing the money on Tahiti and paying for his Palm Springs vacation, she still probably got off the cheapest out of all these women. Got off. Delia's probably like at home, like just thank God. Because so let's get into it. That's before he turned into an asshole, basically.
This sounds like it's gonna be juicy. So you said women. Okay, so all right, I need more.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go into his whole love story. I promise. There was one girlfriend came forward and she had said she got out of there because they went on a rafting trip and she fell in, almost died. Have you ever been whitewater rafting?
Yeah, I have.
I love whitewater rafting, but it can be very dangerous. And so she fell in the water. People die every year from this. And at least she felt like she was about to die. And he just laughed and laughed and laughed. He thought it was such a joke. And it was one of those things when you're kind of freaking out and he's sitting there like, oh, get over it. And so she just kind of booked. She was like, I knew something was up. That wasn't funny. And she also brought up that he had no common sense. So she got out of there. So I guess maybe she got off the luckiest, but serious relationships from now on. I'm just going to go over the serious ones. So let's fast forward a bit. We're going to go to 2001. And at this point, he's 37. And Pardo seems that, he's finally settled down. He's calmed down a bit. He's not taking ladies out whitewater rafting. And so he's living in Woodland Hills with his girlfriend, Elena Lucano. I have to edit that one. So Elena, they had a son, and so their son's name is Bruce Matthew, and he is only 13 months old. So I don't know, Kristen, how well do you think you need to watch a 13-year-old?
A 13-year-old?
I'm so sorry. 13-month-old. 13-month-old.
Very closely. It's toddler age is a very rambunctious, curious age, and lots of bumps and bruises or falls that happen at that age. So yes, that's an age that you should absolutely have your eyes on your child at all times. Yeah.
They're always sticking stuff in their mouths, trying to stick everything they can in an outlet, all this stuff. You basically can't leave them. No, it's not basic. You cannot leave.
You cannot.
13 months alone. So Elena goes to work and, Pardo is like, Bruce is tired, I guess. I don't know. He's just sitting there watching TV when he's supposed to be watching his son. So she gets home from work and she finds him in the backyard just screaming. He's screaming that they need help. They need to go to the hospital. And her 13-month-old baby is in his arms and he's just soaking wet. So, yeah, the baby had actually went outside completely on his own and somehow fallen into the backyard swimming pool. Yeah. Well, he was sitting there watching TV. So Bruce would go to the hospital and he would sit there with his son. I mean, he would be kind of sitting there by his bedside for a complete week. He was there around the clock. And then, at some point, the doctors just come and they say, we've done all that we possibly can. Your son is going to survive, but he's going to have severe brain damage. And there's nothing else we can do. He's never going to fully recover.
So, I'm sorry. Did he actually drown to the point where he was unconscious and brain dead, and then they resuscitated him, and that caused the brain damage?
Yeah, basically, I think he just was, not with oxygen for so long. I don't know if he was, I don't think he was responsive when they got him out of the pool.
Oh
So they
my
were
gosh.
able, yeah, they were able to bring him back to life, thank God. But yeah, due to this brain damage, he never fully recovered. He is a paraplegic. He's still alive, but basically this was just like all too much for Bruce to handle. After that week, he was not seen at his son's bedside or anything like that. And then within 6 months, he booked. He said basically, bye, this isn't working. We're over, and just left her with all of those hospital bills. Can you imagine the amount
Well,
of
what?
hospital bills?
It was his fault what happened to the child to begin with because he wasn't properly looking after him. And that's how he ended up. Oh my gosh, what a real piece of work. Again,
Yeah,
like you said, no common sense, like none.
none. And so she ends up having to take him to court because not only is she not paying child support or anything like that, he's not coughing up any money for any of this. And so she takes him to court, and basically what they end up doing is going after his homeowner's insurance. And so she gets that whole settlement. They stick it into a fund for the son, but now he gets $243 a month or something. Like this is not changing her life. This is not
No.
helping.
And not enough to really sustain or take care of your child that is in need of some serious medical care or attention. That sucks. That
Yes,
sucks.
it sucks. And so they get that settlement, and he never talks to either of them again. Just abandons Bruce Matthew, like, what son, basically. It's horrible. So a couple years do go by. He's still over there working at JPL. And I don't know, I guess he's making friends there. People like him enough that this guy actually is like, you should really meet my sister-in-law. I'm assuming he probably doesn't know all these stories, but yeah, he thinks that Sylvia Orza is the perfect fit for him. And he thought that they kind of just needed each other. She was really down to earth. She already had kids. In this guy's head, it was like built-in family for Bruce. She needs a stable man. And so they end up meeting. She's 40 at the time. Like I said, she has 3 kids. She had 2 previous marriages. So she got 2 kids with one guy. And then now she has a kindergartner who's with her all the time. And they seem to be getting along, not just her and Sylvia, but her and her daughter as well. And they go to church all the time. He's actually regularly, he was an usher at Sunday Mass. And the night, that Christmas Eve that we're going to get to, he was scheduled. He was supposed to be an usher that night as well. And it's not just them. He's getting in really close with her family. He likes the whole family. Everything's going well, to the point that, they liked each other. So after 2 years of dating, they decided, let's do it. Let's get married. So on January 29th of 2006, they got married, and they would buy a 3-bedroom house together, mainly him. He bought a 3-bedroom house, and it was $565,000. So after the first year of marriage, Sylvia starts telling her friends that, Bruce has become really cold. He's not the same guy. He seems really distant. They're constantly fighting about money. He wants nothing to do with a joint bank account because he feels like he shouldn't be responsible for providing any form of money for her other 3 kids. Those are her kids. She needs to completely pay for them. She needs to figure that all out. And he can't even let her near his money because, I don't know, there's the potential she'll like buy a cheeseburger for him or something. And he does not want that. Like, gotta keep it separate. And you know how I said he was getting in really good with her family, he was really close. Maybe that was just an act, because now that they're married, he's not interested. He's not looking to build a relationship with her family. And she's one of 5. So, you know, she's really close with her siblings and stuff. And he's like, no, thank you. Not interested. So yeah, things are getting rough. You know, Sylvia is really doing her best though, right? She's gonna try to make this bad situation better. She's working on it. She's still trying to get really close with his family and does build a really good relationship with Nancy Pardo, who is his mom. And Nancy really likes her. Not just likes her, loves her 3 kids. I don't know if it was the idea. I don't know if she's already a grandma. I don't know the situation, but she was for it. She loves Sylvia. So she actually mentions, I'm very positive she did this on purpose, but she was like at her wit's end. She was so sick of Bruce. And so she mentions to Sylvia, you know, right, that he has another kid, a severely disabled son that he doesn't take care of. He does not provide any financial assistance at all.
His mama was tired of his shit. Okay.
She was so tired because, you know, she is. Never mind. I'm so horrible. I said, I don't know if she's a grandma. Yes, she's a grandma. He has a kid. And she does try to assist with, you know, Bruce Matthew and Elena where she can. But her deadbeat son is not assisting at all, wants nothing to do with them. So then she says, oh, and by the way, just so you know, he claims his son on his taxes every year. So not only does he provide no sort of assistance, doesn't see him at all, nothing at all, he does receive money from the government or a tax break for him, basically.
That's so incredibly messed up on so many levels. And how he was able to even do that is, I feel really bad for his girlfriend, or because they weren't married. Elena.
Yeah, Elena, they weren't married. Well, listen to this though. You gotta love Sylvia for this, because Sylvia, not only is this a deal breaker. Do you know when you like get some information about somebody and it doesn't matter how much you loved them or how much you liked them, the second you hear it, you're like, no.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe I did this. So not only is she done with Bruce, she goes to Elena and says, hey, hi, I'm married to your ex. And I've heard from a very good source that he's claiming your son on his taxes. So
she tricked off on him.
Oh, hell yeah. She was furious. This was not something she was going to get over. I think in her mind, this indicates what kind of personality you have, right? Like, I don't want to be married to someone like this, someone this low. So I mean, at that point, no matter what Bruce was going to do, no matter, this relationship was over.
Well, and then too, you mentioned this was her 3rd marriage. So like, it sounds like she may have initially tried, oh, I know we're having problems or whatever, but let's work this out. But after, like you said, getting that bit of information, she was totally turned off and she didn't care. She's like, it's over.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Nothing.
No. It's a personality thing. It's like, you're not a good person, like you said. No.
Yeah.
So she tells Elena that he's claiming him. And so now what does Elena do with that information?
I'm sure you probably was taking steps to put a stop to that. But yeah, honestly, I don't really know. I don't know how far the drama goes down that rabbit hole, but I'm sure. Could you imagine, out of everybody, at least right now, up to this point in the story, who must hate him? You hurt my baby. This is all your fault, and you abandoned us. This mere sound of Bruce Pardo's gotta
make her skin crawl.
Yeah. Yep. Yet still, we're not talking about a massacre that she caused, right? If anybody had the right to show up with a gun, this would be her. But no, I'm really not sure kind of what happens with that part of the story, but I do know Sylvia's part of the story. And that is a few months later, March 7th, 2008, they would officially separate. She is done. And she's done, but she's reasonable. She's an adult. She has a daughter who's attending kindergarten there. She doesn't want to pull her out in the middle of school. So she just asked Bruce, is there any possible way I can just stay here till the end of the school year, which is what, May? Can you give me a few months here? And Bruce is like, fuck no, I want you out. One day, he doesn't even wait for her to move out. One day she's at her niece's party, it's a birthday party, and she comes home, all of her stuff. He's taken all of her stuff and put it in the driveway. Now she's got her daughter. She really has nowhere to go. Thankfully, her sister was like, grab your stuff, come here, you're going to stay here in Glendale with me. He was just all too willing to leave her and her daughter abandoned and just threw her stuff to the curb, basically.
Bruce sounds like a ruthless one. I mean, I don't know. People like that also don't have remorse for the things that they do. He stole from his first fiance and cleaned her out. He didn't want to share funds with any other significant other that he had because he probably was afraid they'd do the same thing to him that he did to his first. He sounds like a real piece of work.
Yes. Real piece of work. And it's only going to get worse. So even after all of this, right? You would assume it's completely over, right? After you've done these things to a person. No, Pardo actually, so he contacts his lawyer and asks him to contact her lawyer and says that he's interested in reconciling and he wants to get back together. Oh,
I would be scared for one. Because he sounds like a diabolical person to take all of her stuff and put it outside. It's not like she did anything wrong. She was trying to be, I guess, cordial by separating and saying this is just not going to work. But no, now why do you want to reconcile? Like what's behind that?
yeah, I don't know if he realized how much a divorce was going to cost or something, but luckily, or because she was smart, she said, no way, like not a chance. Thank you. No. So they move on with the proceedings. Some friends and people will say that he didn't seem phased at all. His brother will say he was depressed. I don't know if that's an after the fact kind of thing, trying to make it sound, this really beat him up. But overall, he seems to be moving on with life. He does decide, hey, it's time to leave. I've been at JPL forever. And he starts as an engineer at ITT Radar Systems. So they do defense contracts. And at this point, he's making $122,000 a year. And Sylvia is an administrative assistant for El Monte Flower Company. And so she's making, $31,000 a year. So on June 18th, 2008, a Burbank judge ordered Pardo to pay $1,785 a month in spousal support. Yeah. So to say that he was pissed about this would be the understatement of the year. We've already talked about how he is with finances and stuff. So he is furious. I don't know why, because the first check bounces. And then by the time the second one's supposed to come out, he actually just stops the check and is refusing to pay her. So now on June 13th, he would, because he's broke, right? He has no money. He would go to Gun World and he'd spend a little under $1,000 to buy a 9mm handgun. And he would have bought more. He probably would have bought a lot more. But under California law, it states that you can only purchase one gun every 30 days. So he can't do there. He leaves there with his one gun. And then on June 30th, he actually ends up losing his job. You want to guess why?
He went off the rail. He's just lost control. He was mad about having to pay alimony or spousal support to his ex-wife and just flipped out. He just flipped out and lost it.
You would think so, but no, at this point, he's still very calm, cool, and collected, and just got busted for basically fraud. I think he was saying that he was working a lot more hours than he really was. I don't know if he was trying to make extra money all of a sudden, or maybe he really was just trying to get busted because he wanted to get fired, but he did. He got fired. So I don't know if it was for a celebration or what, since he got busted. 8 days later, he goes back in and buys another 9mm handgun.
Bruce, what's going
no red
on?
flags here, right? No red flags. He's like almost to the day. It's like he's got the time clock on his calendar. In 8 days, you can go and buy another gun. Because that's what he keeps doing. The next 30 days, he goes, he buys a gun, and so on and so on. And on November 13th, he finally buys his 5th and final gun. Let's back up a little. We're going to talk about September 8th. He ends up calling his neighbor, Jerry, and she owns Jerry's costumes. He's actually rented costumes from her before. And he says, hey, I need you to make me a Santa suit. I'm going to order a custom Santa suit. I'm going to wear this for, to dress as Santa Claus for children's parties. And he specifically says, I need it roomy. I want it extra big, kind of implying he wants to put a lot of stuffing in there. And this is not cheap. So again, he's so broke. He's, screwing all these women over, but he can go in and he can buy this $300 Santa suit. And the one thing is, she said, obviously she had known him. She'd done things for him before. But the thing that always kind of stood out for her was that he bought his stuff instead of renting it. And she said that she really just thought that this was, in his defense, it was because he was 6'4" and 275 pounds. So I guess it can be hard to just go in and, to Party City and buy a normal costume. This did take me down a bit of a rabbit hole, though, because I do love Santa Claus so much. So I had to try to figure it out. How tall is Santa Claus? You want to take a guess? Do you have any idea how tall Santa Claus is? And so sorry, guys, I have this in feet and inches because I'm American and do the math because we cannot learn the metric system.
6 feet?
Ooh, so I actually have 2 different stats, and you kind of came right in between the 2 of them. So the North American Aerospace Defense Command, have you ever heard of NORAD Track Santa, that program? You can go on their website on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, and they'll track where he is, and they come in at Texas next, kind of thing. So they claim that he's 5'7" and that he weighs in at around 260 pounds. And they do say that is before he's been around the world and ate all of the milk and cookies.
How cute. Okay.
Yes. But then there's Christmas lore experts at Yes, Santa is Real. And they suggest that Mr. Claus is actually around 6'6" and that he's 250 pounds. So I'm so sorry I took you guys down this rabbit hole. But
we had to know. We had to know that.
This is what's really important about this case. It's how tall is Santa Claus. But so sounds like he's a pretty tall guy. Okay, so let me just remind you again that Bruce Pardo at this point does not have a job. He claims he's been applying at all these places, but nobody's interested. It is 2008. We're at the start of a recession, and he's just been fired for fraud. So I kind of believe they can't get a job. That makes sense to me.
He's got a lot of guns, though.
He's got a lot of guns. He's found a new hobby. But he is making it clear to other people that he's having all these financial issues. He made sure very specifically that the judge in the case between him and Sylvia knew and understood all of his financial issues. So she did go ahead and suspend the alimony payments until he could get a job. So Pardo, again, so broke. He's just so broke. He decides this is the perfect time to go to Iowa to visit his high school friend, Steve Irwin, and they're actually going to celebrate his 45th birthday. So he would have to fly all the way from California into Moline, which is actually Illinois, but it's in the Quad Cities. And it is not cheap to fly into a small airport like that. I mean, the people that I know that live in that area, my family lives in there, they usually fly out of O'Hare or something. So I'm just stressing again that he's so cheap, but he's willing to, I'm sure, pay the extra $100 to get there. So he ends up telling his friend while he's there. And I guess maybe he doesn't have that many people to really open up to back in California. He's just, when you start talking about your problems and it's like you're not stopping, and he's telling him, everything. He's telling him, how he's embarrassed. He's honestly ashamed that this is all happening and that he's so broke. And he even opens up and tells Irwin that he's not talking to his, not just because she spilled the beans about all of this and everything, but because when they go to court, that's where she sits, is with Sylvia and her family. So his own mom is not sitting behind him. She's sitting with all the aunts and everything on Sylvia's side. Because again, she's that done with Bruce and is that ashamed by the things that he does.
Well, understandably so, because Bruce, you're a piece of shit. I mean, damn. You did some horrible things.
Yeah. Nancy's sitting at home like, I raised that boy. She is just, I'm sure she's so ashamed. But so he's in Iowa. He does have a pretty good time. They have 5 kids, and he's helping the kids with their math homework and all this stuff, playing with them. He has a great time, but eventually he does have to go home. But of course, what does he do? He's got to stop by the gun shop in Iowa, where he bought 16 handgun magazines, and each which holds 18 bullets. And that's 8 more than is allowed in a magazine in California. So there's a very specific reason he felt the need to have to stop by in Iowa to take care of that.
Oh, but I thought he was broke.
Oh, he's broke. It's rough. It's rough out here for a single man only taking care of his every women need. But I digress. So around this time, he also takes a DeWalt compressor, and he got a 50-foot hose and a tank in with high octane fuel, and he's rigging this all together to make a flamethrower. So
what the hell?
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what website he's on, but he's just, again, clear signs. He's gathering a lot of weapons and seems to be, that's the scary part too. It's like he really seemed unhinged at this point. He seemed upset, right? But he's still able to have a good time. He's still able to do these things. But he's just, I don't know, building this, arsenal of weapons very calmly. So it's only a couple weeks before Christmas right now. And they're in their hearing still. This is still going on for their marriage. But Bruce Pardo and Sylvia Orza would finally officially terminate their marriage. And Sylvia was to get $10,000, her diamond engagement ring, and their dog that they had together. And Pardo decides, he's furious again. He just wants to get out of town. So he calls up Irwin again and is like, hey, Steve, is it too soon for another visit? Like, I just need some of that Iowa fresh air again. I need to get out of here. And he's like, hey, man, do what you got to do. Yeah, you're always welcome. You can come here, not a problem at all. So that's what he plans on doing. And he books another flight. And this is supposed to be for Christmas Day at 12:20 a.m. So he also, in his broke state, rents a Dodge Caliber from a budget and a silver Toyota RAV4 from a Rent-A-Rack. And so he packed the Toyota with maps of the Southwest United States and Mexico. And also in the car, he has water, he has food, he has a can of gasoline, and he has 2 computers. He has a laptop and a desktop in there. And on Christmas Eve, he takes this car to Glendale and parks it conveniently close to his ex-wife's lawyer's house. And then he just leaves it there. So at this same time, Jose and Alicia Ortega and these are Sylvia's parents, they're setting up for a huge family Christmas Eve party. This is something they do every year. They are always excited about it. Everyone always has a good time. They said it earlier, they have 5 kids, and then their kids have kids, and you know how this goes. It adds up quickly. So there's usually over 30 people at this party. And everybody also accounts that Nancy Pardo, his mom, was supposed to be at this party. She was supposed to be there. She didn't come because she actually wasn't feeling good. But just remember that he thinks his mom is going to be there. Also, could you imagine going through that messy divorce and still loving the mom so much you invite her? Come on. Nancy's probably a really good woman. But she ends up not going. Everybody else comes though. And so a lot of times what they do is they hang out around the pool, especially the kids. They'll be playing music. Obviously they're eating. I'm sure the food was delicious. And then it's a family tradition that they all play Texas Hold'em. So again, the kids thankfully are kind of more towards the back. The parents are playing Texas Hold'em. It's 11:30. They're starting to like finish things up. You know how it is. They're kind of in the front of the house. They're starting to say their goodbyes. I'm so glad you all came. All those things. In my head, I'm picturing like a Midwest goodbye. So I'm like, okay, if they start at 11:30, by 2 a.m., everyone should have gotten their goodbyes in. So, but that's kind of what's going on. They're just mingling. So, at the same time, the Ortega's family neighbors, they actually get this weird cool coincidence, surprise, or whatever. They're kind of laughing about it because they're outside and they see this really jolly big Santa Claus, and he looks very happy and he waves to them and he even says Merry Christmas. And so they just, go along their merry wave. He's like, wow, what a great sighting. You see Santa, and in their heads, because he's walking up to the Ortega house, and he has this big giant gift with them, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm sure in their head they're thinking like, he's about to get a really good surprise. These kids are about to see Santa Claus. And so that's where we land. He's at the Ortega's house. He's knocking on the door. Now, Katrina, who is Sylvia's 8-year-old niece, hears the door. It's 11:30 at night. She's excited. She runs. She opens the door. It's Santa Claus. It's Santa Claus carrying a giant gift. She's beyond ecstatic, right? She's so excited. She even runs towards him. And what does he do? Shoots her in the face.
No.
He shoots the 8-year-old girl in the face. So obviously it's instantly chaotic, right? Everybody is screaming. He's just shooting. He doesn't care. He's just blasting everyone, basically. People are grabbing their children. They're desperately trying to flee. Charles, who's Sylvia's brother, yells out, "It's Bruce," because he realizes who it is. And Sylvia, so at this point, Sylvia's other brother, James, is shot in the chest. And then he shoots the other brother, Charles. So they're both shot. Both of his brothers are shot, and they're getting up and trying to go after him and charge him to block him from getting to the rest of the family. But they're no use. I mean, this guy, we've already talked about all of his weapons, right? Like, he's got them, he's just shooting. And then when he's done, he's just grabbing another gun. So it's no use. It feels like there's nowhere to go and that he just won't stop.
He's on a
So
mission. It sounds like he's determined.
he's determined. He's had this planned out. He's prepared. He's been to this house. He knows the layout, and it's horrible. And finally, the house goes silent. And the family at this point maybe thinks they have a little hope. There's people all over just laying there. And what does he do? He just takes another gun and he starts shooting them in the head, execution style. Anybody who's still alive in that general area, he's just shooting.
Okay, wait a second. So you said that he walked up with a gift or something, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. So let's get into that. Because all the guns are coming out of this suit, right? That he doesn't have extra padding in the Santa suit. They're the guns.
Right.
What's
I was thinking he's pulling them out of the package, but no. So, okay. Oh my
No,
gosh, this is awful. This is
no.
awful.
Yeah. So he is shooting all these people, and then he unwraps the gift. The gift is the homemade flamethrower.
You've got
So,
to be kidding me. He
yeah.
wrapped it? He wrapped it.
He took the time to wrap it. So, how horrible, right? He unlocks the compressor. The compressors contain, and he sprays gasoline all over the house and sets fire. It's actually not gasoline. So it's for the car or something. I'm sorry. I should have done better notes on this part. But basically, this is not even just regular gasoline. This accelerant is going to make it, this is going to be extreme. I also kept seeing some sources talking about how he didn't even account for the fact that they have two fireplaces, which I don't know if that's letting more air and stuff. I don't know how that works, but somehow, whatever, this using all this accelerant and stuff, and then lighting it and using a flamethrower. This house went up way quicker than I think even he was expecting. I mean, we're talking 80-foot flames here. I do not think that he expected it to go up the way that it did. So, Letitia, this is one of Sylvia's sisters. And not only is this her sibling, her only sibling who survives out of the 5. This is Katrina's mom, the little girl who got shot right away. So she actually, because she was at the back of the house, was able to get out and she flees. She runs to another door to a neighbor's house and she calls 911. And when I say that call was frantic, I mean, it was heart throbbing. She's yelling, her daughter's just been shot. She's reporting that this is Bruce Pardo. There was no sort of question in her mind. She knows who this is. So obviously they send out everybody immediately, everyone they could get there. And it took 80 firefighters
to put the fire out.
Yeah, it took over an hour and a half to put this fire out. And when they're done, I mean, I'm not saying the house was completely leveled, but it's gone. You could tell this was not an accidental fire, right? This was
intentional. Yeah.
This was intentional. Yeah. It's horrible. So when the flames do finally clear, when they put the fire out, in the end, 9 people are dead. And almost just as horrible. So 3 of them for sure, 100%, they're dead from gunshot wounds. Well, 4 of them, they say died from gunshot wounds and from the fire. They can't clearly determine, right? And then 2 casualties for sure, just the fire got them. So authorities would actually say that 9 people are unaccounted for when they originally announced the list of people because they were burnt so badly that they couldn't actually identify them. They had to use dental records.
Wait a second. I'm sorry. So 18 people?
No, I'm sorry. It's 9 people
died
altogether.
Okay. I was like, hold on.
No. Yeah, I'm sorry. So it's 9 people died. They were not recognizable. Let me just go through the list for you. So not that that's going to make this somehow easier, but Sylvia, obviously, Sylvia Pardo, that was his number one target, but he did kill her. Alicia Ortega, who was 70, this is Sylvia's mom. Joseph Ortega, who's 80, this is Sylvia's dad. Then Charles and Sherry Ortega, they're 50 and 45, that's her brother and his wife. Then we have James Jr. Ortega, who's 52, that's Sylvia's other brother, and then his wife, Teresa Ortega, who's 51. Then we have Alicia Ortiz, who's 46, this is her other sister. And then we have Michael Ortiz, who's 17. And this is Sylvia's nephew, and Alicia, who we had just mentioned.
The little girl.
That was his mom. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I just said Alicia. Yeah, the little girl's mom is was the only sibling to survive. He got the rest of her immediate family, basically. And the only good part, which there's no good part, but the only good part is that most of the children were in the back, and that's why they were okay. Michael, for example, was actually upstairs playing on the computer. And so I think there was just no way for him to get out once the house went up. I mean, it was that quick. I mean, it went from no fire to completely engulfed pretty quickly. So 13 children became orphans that night, on Christmas night. There was also 3 other people that got injured pretty badly. So obviously, we're the 8-year-old girl. I mentioned Katrina, though, because she did survive. She survived. She grew up. She's beautiful on the inside and out. She now fights for gun rights, to obviously people should not be buying all these guns. And she even staged a walkout at her school. So, I mean, I think she's trying to do the best that she possibly can. She did need surgery on her jaw, but overall, she's recovered as much as you possibly can from that. How traumatizing. Her mom talks about trying to explain to her that wasn't the real Santa in that moment when you're 8 years old. Not only did you just lose a lot of your family, can you imagine next Christmas every time you see a Santa? They're everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would not. Christmas would not be a fond holiday ever.
Yeah. There was also a 16-year-old that he shot in the back who survived, and then a 20-year-old woman who had to jump out of a window. She did end up breaking her ankle because she jumped from the 2nd floor, but thankfully she survived as well.
What the hell happened to Bruce? I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead, but I mean, damn, where's this fool at?
This fool. Get restarted. Okay. Let's do it. Let's go. What is he doing? So he casually changes into some clothes, and he would jump into his rental blue Dodge Cavalier, and he would head towards his brother's house. So people did say they saw him. His brother's house is 30 miles away, but people noticed, obviously the house is in flames. People are going out, they're looking. And his is the only car leaving the scene, and it doesn't have the lights on. So
pretty obvious.
Pretty obvious, right? So at least at this point, they kind of know the vehicle to look for. They're putting all these alerts out there looking for him. But they actually don't have to look very long, because Bruce's brother would get home from a Christmas party at around 3:30 in the morning, and he finds his brother dead on the couch. So obviously he calls in right away. The cops get there, and they find that he shot himself in the head. So they will say that they were, pretty sure after they found all his guns and everything, when they searched his house, that they found a virtual bomb factory. But God knows what he was actually planning, what else he was planning on doing. They're also very positive that he did not plan on killing himself, because not only did he set up this trip to Iowa, and he had this other car over here where it looked like he might be trying to flee to Mexico. He also had a plane ticket to Canada. There was all these things. He was clearly setting up his getaway and trying to have the cops look in all these other directions. They also found that he had $17,000 taped to him. So he had it on him and was planning on just fleeing. What they think really happened. You know, you'd almost hope. Did he just think, what did I just do? And he took it too far and shot himself? No. They found that he had third-degree burns all up his arms and his legs. He thought he was going to have more control.
He was in pain.
They think he was in pain. That Santa suit literally fused to his skin. So when they found him, they found where there was still parts of the costumes stuck in his skin. They also found parts of the costume on the ground and his skin was melted all on it and stuff. So yeah, they think that either he was just in too much pain or at this point he just knows the jig is up basically, right? He has to go to the hospital. He's going to die either way if he doesn't. Yeah. He goes to the hospital if he busted.
And all this because he was angry that he had to pay or whatever, all the things that were going wrong in his life. And he did this to all these people, this entire family, caused 13 children to become orphans overnight for nothing. For nothing. It's so messed up.
Oh, so messed up. He wasn't even paying alimony anymore.
He stopped. Yeah.
Move on, man. Move on. What's the point? You know, maybe Gun World will give you a job. Maybe at a discount. I don't know. But he's still not quite done. So they find his car and they find the Santa suit in it. So they open up the car. They're going to look at the Santa suit. Right away, thankfully, they notice the smell. That's just not right. They don't think it's just the accelerant. I don't know who made the call, but they back up and they say, we got to bring in the bomb squad. So the bomb squad comes in and they send in a little robot because they're like, this doesn't seem right. And it turns out that the suit was actually rigged with a pipe bomb. And there was a flare set up in there and there was gunpowder sprinkled all around it. So basically it was like, no matter what, it seemed like he had this car booby trap. He wanted to, again, go out with a bang as if he hadn't done enough. So they send the robot in and it ends up blowing up, basically. The car's just in flames. And you can see, I'll post pictures of it. The car, it's, again, just like the house. This wasn't a little fire. Even the paint melted off the car and everything. It's horrible. So,
did any other lives get taken because of this bomb or this thing that didn't? No,
thankfully, but also probably only because someone went, wait a second, let's call in the bomb squad.
Still, how close of a call is that? How close of a call is that, right? To immediately sense something's wrong. They could have been gone like that. That's crazy.
Gone like that. And I think for me, it just comes out that, think about it. It's one thing, which is a horrible thing, but it's one thing to be like, I hate Sylvia so much that I want to kill her, right? It's another thing to be like, I just want to take out her and her whole family. And that is just another thing. Like, it's just like body count at that point, right? You know, Sylvia and her family aren't going to come find your car, right? You've taken care of that situation. You know, it's just going to be some emergency responder that you don't know, and you're trying to take them out. Same thing if he was really going to use that car and go after her lawyer. At what cost? This is not just an I hate my ex-wife situation. Right?
It sounds like he was just completely unhinged and, I mean, overkill. But you did say he was kind of the life of the party and an attention fiend. So to him, let's become this notorious person and have this, horrible thing that you're going to die being known for, which is stupid as hell, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's so messed up.
It is, yes. It's so messed up. And not only did just the Ortega family really need healing, it was all of Covina needed healing. And could you imagine even being a child in that area at that time. I'm sure it was all over the place and with Santa and everything. It must have just been really traumatic. So they did have to bring in therapists and all this stuff. And you had mentioned you would never celebrate Christmas anymore, right? It would just be too much.
It's it would never be the same, I don't think. And that's sad, but I don't think I would be able to correlate good happy memories with that time of year. I would have to relocate to the desert or something in that time of the season, cuz I just that would be too hard for me.
For me too, but this family, I'm telling you, they really are something else. And like, I'm gonna like tear up. This was, to me, it was like really inspirational the way they talked about it. They said, hey, we've decided we are gonna continue celebrating Christmas and we're just gonna be thankful that we're still alive. And Letitia, she actually says that, she looks to the future as a source of strength rather than dwelling on the past. And she's not going to let Bruce continue to consume her and consume her entire family with rage and anger. She's just not doing that. And to be honest, she won't even say Bruce's name anymore. She literally just refers to him as the monster.
Good for
So
her.
good for her and good for them for moving on and finding ways to still cope and, find some brightness in this truly horrible massacre. My heart definitely goes out to the family, but I really like their look on life at least, at least celebrate the fact that you're still here and you got to live. And I'm sure that can be easier to say on some days than others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's all I got. So I hope you guys are enjoying your holiday season. That doesn't seem right to say after that one, but at least now maybe if you're a little down on this holiday season, it can always be worse. And if they can get through this, right, you can get through your stuff, right? You're gonna just think positively.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Thank you guys so much. Thank you again. We cannot say thank you enough for all of the love and support that we've gotten over this year. It has truly been amazing. We love doing this. We hope you guys are still enjoying the episodes, and we will catch you guys in 2023.
Peace out, guys. Thanks all.
Bye.